I don't know when I first started noticing the distance. Maybe it was subtle at first. Missed kisses goodbye, fewer texts during the day, a general sense that something had quietly shifted. But by the time this story really starts, I was already feeling it like a low-grade fever that wouldn't break. Her name is Rachel, and we've been married for 8 years. We met through her best friend, Mel. Mel was this bubbly, always laughing kind of woman, the type you just assume is friends with everyone. She introduced me to Rachel at a 4th of July barbecue, and from that moment on, it felt like Rachel and I just clicked. Back then, Rachel was sweet, sharp-witted, and confident in a way that didn't need to be loud. She taught 3rd grade, and I always joked that she had more patience than a monk. We built a simple, steady life. 2 kids, Liam and Ellie, and a house just far enough from the city to be peaceful, but close enough that we could still go to a decent brunch. I work in logistics, which means my job is mostly unglamorous but pays the bills. I work hard and I'm home when I can be. Rachel started working part-time again last year after Ellie started kindergarten. She said it was to keep her mind busy. I was proud of her for wanting that, even if part of me missed having her around all the time. Then came Ben, Mel's younger brother. I had met him only a handful of times. He was charming, younger than both of us, with that casual arrogance some men carry like cologne. He traveled a lot for work, never seemed to stick with anything long-term. A wanderer. Rachel told me she'd seen Ben at a brunch with Mel. "He's thinking of moving back to town," she'd said, almost offhandedly. That was about 4 months ago. I remember the weekend it happened, clear as crystal. Rachel had been planning a girls' day with Mel, nails, lunch, shopping, the usual. She asked me if I could take the kids out, maybe to the Science Museum. "Just give me a day to unwind," she said. She looked tired, so I didn't think much of it. I said, of course. So I took Liam and Ellie out. We spent the whole day in the city, walking through exhibits, building blocks in the kids' zone, laughing over overpriced ice cream. It felt like the kind of day we remember for years. When we got home around 5, Rachel wasn't back yet. I texted her, "Home now. Kids tired and happy. Hope you had fun." She didn't respond. By the time 8 rolled around, she finally walked in. Hair tousled, cheeks flushed, not from the cold. I know what her face looks like when she's been drinking wine with her friends, and this wasn't that. She was glowing. Euphoric in a way that made something inside me twist. She didn't even look surprised that the kids were already asleep. Later, lying beside her in bed, I asked how her day had gone. She said, "It was good. Mel's doing great. It was really nice to catch up." Her voice was a little too casual, too rehearsed. I tried to brush it off. But then, I saw the photo on Mel's Instagram the next morning. A brunch table, Rachel, Mel, and 2 empty seats. "Solo Ladies' Day," the caption said. No Ben. But also, no Ben. Why even mention it? I started noticing other things. Rachel got a second phone, said it was for tutoring she started on the side. She had passwords on everything. I wasn't snooping at first, but it was hard not to see the patterns stacking up like bricks. She changed her perfume. Started dressing differently, even around the house. The final piece fell into place one weekend when Rachel said she was going to visit Mel again. I didn't question it. By then, I'd grown used to these mini getaways. But that Sunday, Ellie came down with a stomach bug, and I called Rachel to tell her. No answer. I called Mel. She picked up. When I asked for Rachel, there was a pause. "She's not here," Mel said. "She left a couple of hours ago." It was only noon. The silence in my chest was deafening. I waited. Didn't say anything. Just waited. I thought she was going back to you, Mel added awkwardly. I didn't reply. I just hung up. I didn't see Rachel until late that night. She walked in, her hair slightly damp, like she'd just showered somewhere else. I stared at her as she tried to put her keys down without looking at me. You aren't with Mel, I said. She froze. That was the moment it all changed. The illusion shattered. And the truth, I would soon discover, was far worse than I imagined. After that night, everything turned into slow-motion chaos. Rachel didn't say anything at first. She just stood there, halfway between the front door and the living room, with her keys still in her hand. It was like her brain was flickering between lying and telling the truth, but couldn't quite land on either. Eventually, she just walked past me. I didn't follow. I couldn't. I sat down on the couch and stared at the blank TV screen. The silence between us that night was loud. Unbearably loud. She didn't sleep in our bed. She went to the guest room. Like that tiny act of physical distance would keep the truth from bleeding through the walls. The next morning, I got the kids ready like always. Made waffles, poured orange juice, packed Ellie's favorite pencil case. I kissed their foreheads and told them I loved them more than anything in the world. That part hadn't changed. Rachel stayed in the guest room with the door closed. I didn't knock. I dropped the kids off at school and drove straight to Mel's house. She looked like she'd been expecting me. We sat on her porch with coffee neither of us touched. She said you knew, Mel murmured. I didn't think she'd actually go through with it. Go through with what? Mel closed her eyes. With Ben. My brother. I told her it was a bad idea. I begged her not to drag him into your marriage. But she kept saying she was lost. That she felt invisible. That you were always with the kids, and she didn't feel like a woman anymore. Just a mother. Just a wife. I felt like the breath had been knocked out of me. She told me she hadn't planned for it to happen. But when Ben came back into town, it felt easy. Familiar. How long? I asked, my voice low. 2 months. Maybe 3. I didn't cry. Not there. Not then. Instead, I thanked her, stood up, and drove home on autopilot. When I got back, Rachel was sitting at the kitchen table. No makeup. Wearing the same old hoodie she always stole from me on lazy Sundays. She looked like the woman I married. She looked like a stranger. Ben? I asked. She flinched. I never meant to. Don't. Please. I don't need the rehearsed lines. I need honesty. She looked down at her hands, pale against the wood grain of the table. It started when I saw him at brunch. He was charming. He made me feel like I mattered again. Like I was seen. I nodded slowly. So while I was taking the kids to the zoo or playing hide and seek in the backyard, you were with him. Her eyes filled with tears. I never stopped loving you. But you stopped choosing me. We didn't scream. We didn't argue. There was something eerily clinical about our conversation, like two people dissecting the ruins of a life they built. I thought I was being good, I whispered. I thought giving you space, taking care of the kids, keeping things smooth. I thought that was what being a good husband meant. She cried then. The quiet, ugly kind of crying that shakes a person's entire body. I watched but didn't reach for her. I don't know if we can come back from this, I said. I know, she whispered. We agreed she would stay at her sister's for a few weeks while we figured out the next steps. I packed a small suitcase for her, and she packed her shame. Before she left, I asked her one last question. Did he know? She paused in the doorway. That I was married with kids? Yes, but he didn't care. That night, I walked past the guest room she'd been sleeping in and closed the door. I stood in the hallway, staring at the family photos on the wall. Us at the beach. Liam's 5th birthday. Ellie holding a popsicle bigger than her head. All those smiles. All those moments. Now snapshots of a life interrupted. It's been 2 months. The divorce is in motion. The kids know something's wrong, but I've kept the details away from them. They deserve better than that wait. Sometimes, I lie awake wondering what would have happened if she'd told me how she felt before she acted on it. If I'd noticed more. If I'd fought harder. But then I remember, love isn't just about noticing. It's about choosing. Every day. And she chose him. But now, I choose myself.